All right. Welcome to Nick Life Crisis. It is Thursday, January 30th. This is Raw. I am unbelievably excited to be talking to all of you today. I got my man from Harlem, Al, here. Al, how are you?
Doing great, man. The vibes are high right now in Knicks Nation.
Vibes are high, and this is a big day for us. This will be the 10th episode of Nick Life Crisis. So, shout out to you, Al. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you on this. And also to our listeners. We do have some great listeners, people giving us feedback, people encouraging us. And we just want to say thank you to everybody out there because we really love doing this and it's been very well received. And we just, we want to keep building on this momentum. So we are celebrating the 10th episode of Nick Life Crisis. Thank you guys who have been there with us from the start. And it's our theme because the Knicks are doing some historic stuff this year. So I'm pumped to talk about that with you and just keep, as you said, these immaculate vibes going. And so since the last time we spoke, we've played 3 games and we are 3-0. So feeling really good for what is and has been a challenging January. We are closing on a very good note. We are 32-16, 1 game behind the second seed Boston. And to give everyone just a quick recap, we played Sacramento and we beat them 143 to 120. We got to see an aggressive OG out there dropping 33 points. From there, we invited Memphis to the Garden and we saw a Mikal masterpiece while also shutting down Ja Morant. For our stat nerds out there, Ja Morant had a minus 41 that game. So shout out to Mikal for putting together an amazing offensive performance, but just as importantly, being the point of focus for Ja Morant. He was the main reason Ja had such a tough night. And from there, last night, just because the Knicks wanted to keep spoiling us, maybe they knew that this was the 10th episode anniversary of Nick Life Crisis. They gifted us another W, and it was a pick and roll masterpiece by JB. He had Jokic all over the court. They were making him work, and it was just an awesome game to watch. The bench has been playing fantastic. Our offense has been rolling. There's just one highlight I want to call out, and then a couple other things to touch on. But there was this fast break during I think it was like the third quarter, maybe the start of the fourth. It was JB, Josh Hart, and Mikal, I believe, running the break, and JB threw it forward for an alley oop to Mikal, who caught it and did a reverse layup. And I don't think I've been. I mean, the game was it was amazing. I mean, to see the ball moving, to see finishes like that, to see the uh, the feels going on and how they're all vibing off each other and playing so well, and seeing that ball movement and motion offense, it was just awesome to watch. I'll get your thoughts in a second, but I do want to just take a quick moment and call out our good friend, and by good friend I mean someone I don't like, Draymond. I hate on everybody since I got a podcast. Green. I just want to read what he said about our man Cat on his Twitter. So he wrote, Cat in a full front on Joker. Even if you win the game, it don't matter. You will never hold the respect from an opponent to win at the highest level. Pride must make you sit down and guard even if you give up 40. Winning is a mindset and in order to win champion. He said a couple other things after that, but they were all nonsensical and didn't and don't really deserve to be read. So I just want to say, Draymond, you and Podcast P have had more podcasts than games, and I just want to take a minute and read some of Draymond's stats this season, just because he's talking so much. So Draymond, you've played 34 games this season, so we have almost as many wins as you have games. You are shooting a 41%, one of the lowest percentages of your career. And just in case anybody forgot, you were also the person that made Steph Curry cry last season because he couldn't deal with your temper tantrums. But keep up the good work on your podcast. Really excited for you. And you're kind of on you're in the same bucket for me as Julius Randle now. So congratulations, Draymond, you did it. Al, now that I got that off my chest, thank you for letting me say that. I'd love to turn it to you. What have you seen or how are you feeling since we last spoke? New York Knicks in these last 3 games.
Like I said, vibes are high, man. But I think it all really changed after that Minnesota loss. We had 2 days off. Now remember, leading the beginning of January, leading up to that Minnesota loss, the talk of the town was that the Knicks look like a tired team. They have tired legs. They're missing all their shots that they usually make. Like their shots look flat. And before that, Tom Thibodeau was running them into the ground, and the Minutes police was really upset, rightfully so. But then they got 2 days off, and then they played Atlanta. And in Atlanta, so they got to recharge, and then against Atlanta, Tom Thibodeau went to a 9-man rotation. And he has stuck with that 9-man rotation throughout this 5-game winning streak. So we are 5-0 when Tom Thibodeau goes to a 9-man lineup. And the Minutes Police have now officially pardoned my boy Tom Thibodeau. He has officially been released from Minutes Police jail. There you see him coming out. Congrats to Tom Thibodeau. I'm glad. I think Leon Rose must have went into his office and really said a few words to him about the minutes load and being more careful and managing it a little bit better because, since that Minnesota loss, it's really been night and day, and it looks like he got the message. Whoever spoke to him got through to him loud and clear. What do you think?
You're a good friend, and I think it's nice that you're letting Thibs out of jail. I think he's on probation. I got an ankle monitor on him. I don't want him strolling too far from the house. I am not completely sold on any of this yet, but I am happy that he's improved his rotation. And I'll tell you what, kudos to our bench for not giving him a choice. Like the way Precious and Deuce have been playing, those guys have earned their minutes. And Tom Thibodeau would have been crazy to not been playing them. So happy that Thibs has opened up the rotation. I'm still looking for a little more, if I'm being honest. But yeah, he's he's on parole right now. So happy to have him walking around and back home with his family.
The other thing you mentioned was how the Knicks are sharing the ball, and I just want to throw this out there. The Knicks, they've gotten like 30 and 40 assists in the last 3 games, and the Knicks are 19-1 whenever they have 30 plus assists this season. So that type of ball movement just equates to winning basketball and winning games. So, when you start to see us get into that ISO heavies, particularly with Brunson, it's usually not a recipe for success. So we got to stay away from that. We got to keep moving the ball. That's how we're going to keep winning games. That's how we're going to be dangerous.
I completely agree, and you brought this up to me, and it helped with creating the theme for our episode, which is historic. And we should call out, I think it was 1960 or 65 was the last time the Knicks put up 140 plus points consecutively. I think what's even more impressive about that is putting up those points, the assists you mentioned, but they were both blowouts. And on top of it, we didn't go to overtime. We put up 143 points back to back in regulation, which is insane. So, in the spirit of celebrating these guys and these historic accomplishments, what did you take away? Obviously, the ball movement. Anything else you want to call out that you saw in those games that you feel like has helped power our offense?
I was actually not even going to mention the offense. I think the offense speaks for itself, but actually defensively, they have picked it up a notch. Like they had John Morant. You alluded to this earlier. They had John Morant in jail. Like he couldn't do anything. And I think they did a pretty good job of on defense as well last night against Denver, who's been a juggernaut offensively. I actually have a clip here that I did want to share of a defensive possession, man, and it's such a good possession from last night.
Pace, but they want to play fast.
Let me pause this. Sorry. So just to tee up this defensive possession, it's Mikal on the right baseline and OG on the wing, and Jamal Murray is about to come from the baseline over, and Porter Jr. is setting a screen for him, and you just see Mikal tell OG, switch it, and then they switch it, and then Mikal switches onto Porter, and Porter tries to back cut, and then you see like they're just switching. They switch like 3 times in one defensive possession, and it's just like now these guys are operating on a string. Now you see that. And then like in the post games, you hear them. I had another post game that I wanted to share, but we probably won't have time, is Mikal Bridges talking about this very same thing. He's like, we're starting to get there defensively. The communication is starting to get there. And so you're seeing that improvement defensively. And the only reason I bring this up and I want to show this clip is because it's been a theme on the show. I constantly talk about, like, I want to see Thibs do different things on the defensive end. And we've seen instances where the guys are switching, not everything like most teams, but only switching like in one part of the court, which is it's just interesting to me because I don't see a lot of teams do that. So let me just play this clip really quickly for you, and I'll just tee it up.
I'll chime in too when you're done. That's great. That's awesome.
On the bottom right, you see right here,
27
Jamal's coming over. He back cuts. Mikal picks him up and then picks up Porter Jr. and gets him into a turnover. Just a really good possession in here. You can just watch it one more time.
27 to pace, but they want to play fast. They like to play fast, and they've excelled with fast pace.
And turns into a turnover. This could be really good defense from the guys. So, like, yeah, everyone's going to talk about the offense, but I think the defense has really stepped it up a notch as well.
You are absolutely right. I mean, we've always heard the age-old defense leads to offense. And if there's a stat I would love to learn or see is tipped passes. The number of tipped passes we had over the last 3 games has been awesome to watch. And I think they're learning how to make their own adjustments because we have high IQ players. And I think they know how to communicate versus, and I'm glad Thibs is giving them the space to do that. And it's exciting to see because it's translating and it's been a lot of fun to watch.
During the 5-game winning streak, the Knicks are number 1 in causing turnovers and number 1 in points off of turnovers as well. So again, the defense is shining through.
And the other thing that I found about it that I've really liked is when we get a stop, we push the ball. And that has changed the entire dynamic of our offense. Like the motion that Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges are creating by coming down and sprinting down the court and moving the ball the way they are, it is causing havoc, and it is opening up so many hockey assists and so much ball movement. It is, Al, we were talking about this a little bit. This is, in the last 25 years, this moment of time, this last few days, is some of the best basketball I have ever watched the Knicks play. And the reason I'm not making light of last January's run and that great win streak or how we were playing in November and December, but these are tough teams that are on winning streaks that we are handling. It's one thing to beat the Wizards. It's another thing to handle Memphis and a hot Sacramento team and a Nuggets team with the perennial the former MVP. So just been amazing to watch us come together this last week.
Some more historic Knicks stuff, man. Josh Hart is 2 triple-doubles away from tying Clyde for the single-season Knicks record in triple-doubles. Mikal is set to destroy the single-season corner threes record, who That record is held by, I wonder if you know who it is.
The Knicks corner 3 record
Not
held
Knicks, not
by
Knicks corner 3 record. It's the NBA corner 3 record.
NBA corner 3 record. Clay?
PJ Tucker.
Oh my God. Okay, well. He has a great shoe collection. Shout out for PJ's shoe collection, but I hope Mikal should handle that record then. I didn't realize PJ was holding on to it.
He's going to smoke that record. And Brunson is the first player ever to average over 25 points a game, over 7 assists a game, and less than 2.5 turnovers per game in the history of the NBA through 46 games. And if he does that, obviously, if he does that for the season, he'll be the first player ever to do that. So what we're watching is like, it is, I can't even describe it, man. Like, you just, every day there's something new that these guys are doing, and I'm just like, this hasn't been done since 65. This hasn't been done since 75. This hasn't been done ever. Like, it is amazing. I'm so happy that, you know, we had to watch Lua Munson and Galloway, and we went through those trying times to, you know, get this kind of output, because this is a historic type of output. It's not just like, oh, the Knicks are good. No, the Knicks are historically good now. And it's just, man, I just couldn't be more proud to be a Knicks fan right now.
I'm especially loving right now the Nova 3. Like, those guys are really feeling each other out on the court, and it is making everything else go because they play selflessly. And that ball moves, and that forces Cat and OG and whatever staggered deep offense is going on there with Deuce or Campaign or whatever. Everyone is falling in that vibe, and it's carrying over to the whole team. And so it is, man, we're just gushing over the Knicks right now. I love this. This is like, this is the reason I'm glad we have a podcast right now, because we timed this great. I mean, we would not be talking about this a couple of years ago. So this has been amazing to watch. And you're right, historic is right, but let's stay on historic for a second, because you deserve some flowers too. You have been one of the biggest advocates of getting friends, family, everyone you know to vote for our boys. So let's talk about the Knicks All-Star appearance. Kudos to you, Al. You deserve it, baby. Let's get your take on that.
Man, I couldn't have been happier when I was watching that. It was a little anticlimactic because the very first name that Kenny Smith called out was Jalen. So there was like no suspense. It was like just right away, boom, Jalen made it. And I just couldn't be happy. I mean, he's super deserving. You know, I'm glad that at least the Knicks fans got him the third, and that proved to be what got him over the hump. And then we all knew Cat was going to be a starter as well. I didn't know that they would be the first duo of Knicks starters since 1975, which is pretty crazy. The only thing that's kind of a bummer is that this is the first year now that they're doing this stupid 14 thing, so they're not even going to be starters. Like there is no starting five this year, so it's like kind of anticlimactic again, but still super happy.
It would have been so great if both of them had like NBA All-Star East jerseys on for this, and we're starting together, and but Adam Silver had to fix people not caring about the All-Star game. It just sucks that it had to come this year.
And then today they announced the All-Star reserves, and hopefully my boy Josh Hart gets the nod. Now, I wanted to also talk to you about his case for All-Star game, man. He really should be an All-Star this year. He is playing better than your boy Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics. He better not make it over my man Josh Hart. Like, I don't want to hear it just because he's the Boston Celtics that they give him the All-Star nod just because he was the MVP of the finals. I don't care, man. The stats are the stats. And my boy Josh Hart is playing better than you. Let me bring it up. You don't believe me? Just watch. Watch this. Here you have the stats. Now let me read them to you. The only thing that Jaylen Brown is beating Josh Hart in is points per game at 23 versus 14. And you know why? That's because Josh doesn't shoot. That's not what he's trying to do on this team. That's not his role on this team. But then Josh Hart has more rebounds per game than him, more assists per game, more steals per game. The blocks per game is even. He's shooting a better field goal percentage than him. Josh is shooting 55% from the field. Jaylen Brown's only shooting 45%. Josh is shooting better from three than Jaylen Brown at 36%. Jaylen Brown shooting a nasty 32%. Josh is shooting better from him at the free throw at 81% versus 75%. He's crushing him, bro. He's getting 9.6 rebounds a game to Jaylen Brown's 6. He has 5.6 assists per game to Jaylen Brown's 4.8. So he beats him in every category except points, man. Josh should get it. Now, here's the other guy. They compared Josh Hart to Draymond Green. They similar style. When Golden State was in their championship run, you know, he kept getting All-Star nods off of the back of the record, the Golden State record. That first season that Draymond Green made it to the All-Star game, Josh Hart smokes him in every category as well. Draymond Green averaged 7.5 points per game. Josh Hart is averaging 14.2. Draymond averaged 7.3 rebounds per game. Josh is averaging 9.6. The only category, there's two categories that Draymond beat him in, which was assists per game. Draymond was averaging 7. Josh Hart is averaging 5.7. Josh has him in the steals category, averaging 1.5, and Draymond had 1.3. Draymond had him in the blocks category, averaging 1.1, and Josh averaging 0.4. But then in the field goal percentage, Josh is shooting way better than him. 3-point percentage, I mean, we don't even have to talk about it. Draymond was shooting 29% from three that year. Free throws as well. You know, Draymond was shooting 65% from the free throw that year. So Josh is just through and through a better player than him statistically this year than in that year that Draymond made his first All-Star appearance. So if Draymond got the nod that year, Josh Hart should get the nod this year. And one more thing I do want to show you is if you don't believe me, you know, just hear, you know, what Kat has to say. Let me just find this video from Kat and how Kat is making a case for Josh to become an All-Star.
I told you I want.
And this clip is a little bit longer. It's a 1-minute clip, so but I think it's a good clip.
And I want to ruin his whole break. I want him to be right there with us playing basketball. I don't want. When you say he won't put his toes in the sand, yeah, we ain't doing that. I want him to be All-Star. I think he does. I mean, he's one of the most crucial parts of of the teams that got the best record in the East. I think Josh Hart is the heart and soul of this team. You know, I know everyone wants to pick other people, but I think that when you really in this locker room, you know what he brings to our team, and there's so many things that Josh Hart does that I know that he's getting. You know, I'm super happy that the stat sheet is showing the work he puts in, but there's so much more that he does that doesn't come up on a stat sheet that's so important for us, and I'm just so regardless how everything plays out, if he's with me and JB on that Sunday. One thing he could definitely know during that break is he deserves to be there, and we all in this locker room feel like he does. And if you know coaches give him a nod or not, he's an All-Star in our minds.
So he says if he gets the nod or not, you know, he's an All-Star in our mind, and he calls Josh Hart the heart and soul of the team. So he even, you know, it's not just me saying it. It's, you know, there's a lot of I think a lot of people around the NBA that recognize Josh Hart's value, and I hope that today, I think it's at 6:30, they make the call and Josh Hart will be an All-Star. Let's see.
And you know what I also completely agree. I love that they're so supportive of each other and rooting for each other. You know, I mean, Mikel's even been playing like an all-star. I know we will never get to 4 all-stars on a team right now, but it's been spectacular to watch. And Josh has been like what New York Knicks fans have been craving. And when there was this play against Denver that stands out to me. I'm sure the listeners and you remember when Jalen Brunson was running a fast break. I think it was like a 3-on-2. The play got broken up. Jokic got the ball, threw a deep pass down to Westbrook, and Josh Hart comes out of nowhere, beats everybody to it, gets the ball, turns it around. Now all of a sudden we're on a 4-on-1, hits JB for an open 3, and the engine and passion he plays with, and even I love that little lip curl thing he does when he looks pissed off at the refs. I mean, this guy is. I wish he could play in Timberlands because he is so New York. It's exactly what we've been looking for. It's the closest thing I can feel to like Starks or Oakley or Mason in the last 30 years. Maybe, we had a nice little Kurt Thomas run in between, but this has been spectacular. And fingers crossed that Josh Hart gets a selection because he's very deserving of it. And Josh, you're the man. Thanks for being the engine that keeps this train going, man. We love you. We love you over here on Knick Life Crisis. And you also sent me a real interesting stat that I want to call out before we go to our vibes segment. This was just something fun. So, Mikal Bridges was drafted in 2018. He has played 521 games. Jalen Brunson, drafted in 2018, played 468 games. So 2018, okay? Joel Embiid was drafted in 2014, and he has played 447 games. So just what it means to have players that show up every day and want to play and enjoy playing with each other. Obviously, there's minute police concerns with Thibs at times, but it means everything that we have a team that actually wants to be out there with each other. So shout out to our Knicks, and keeping with those vibes, let's talk about actually, sorry, before we get into vibes, let's talk about the upcoming schedule. So because we have a very popular team, 7 of our next 10 games will be nationally televised, which is a big deal. And our next 4 games will be tough. We have the Lakers, who've been playing relatively better as of late. The post D'Angelo Russell Lakers have been much more difficult to guard than they were prior, and they play much better defense. We have the Rockets after that, who I think the Rockets and the Magic to me are 2 of the most terrifying teams in the NBA because of their draft picks, and they literally feel like they're a player away from being monsters. Then we have the Raptors, who we hope is a W, and then our forever rivals, the Celtics. So 4 tough games coming up. Al, thoughts, reactions, things to look for. How are you feeling about these next 4?
Yeah, well, we got a little lucky with the Laker game because it looks like Anthony Davis won't be playing that game. He got hurt a couple of games ago. So we lucked out there because that was going to be a battle. But also, even with Anthony Davis, I had it as a win because we have 2 days off now between yesterday's game and the game on Saturday. So, again, I've always said the Knicks on extra rest. They haven't lost this year on extra rest. So I already had that game as a W either way, but now it's kind of like it's lost a little bit of its edge because he won't be there. But we still get to see LeBron at age 40. Who knows what he'll do, man, because he's been having a great year in and of himself. And hopefully, maybe we'll see maybe Brunson will, not Brunson, I'm sorry, maybe Bronny will get on the floor and, have some type of moment with his dad, whether it be LeBron giving him an assist or him throwing LeBron an alley-oop. But, like, they shared the floor together the other day against the Sixers. It'd be cool to see. I used to be a LeBron hater. I'm not a LeBron hater anymore. So it'd be cool to see them do something on the floor together at MSG. I think knowing LeBron, he's probably asking JJ Redick facilitate that situation there. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. And then of course I got the Rockets circled on my calendar. I think they're a big litmus test. They've been playing amazing. They just beat, I think, the Cavaliers twice and then beat Boston in Boston. So they've been playing really good ball. They're a scary team. I think, earlier in the season we played them and they destroyed us. So this is a little bit of we need to get our get back against these guys. They are young. Amen Thompson is playing the Josh Hart role for them over there. Like, he's basically doing the same thing that Josh Hart does, and he's just a little bit taller and more athletic than Josh. He's doing a really good job over there. He's really coming to his own. So those two games I have circled on my schedule. Then we play the Raptors back to back after Houston. So that could be a little bit of a trap game, but we do have 2 days off or 3 days off from that time until our next game, which is against the Celtics. So maybe the Knicks just suck it up and get that W against Toronto, knowing that they have, a lot of rest forthcoming. And then, like I said, on extra days rest, we don't lose. So we will be beating the Boston Celtics the next time we play them. Take that to the house.
Is that Al's lock of the podcast? Knicks Celtics bet the house, because that's basically going to be a pick 'em, barring any injury. And right now you owe me some money after the Thunder investment, but that's okay. That's okay. I still love you. All right, Knicks Celtics. I'm with you. That's an important game, and I don't think we've played them at home since opening night, have we? And we got smoked opening night. So let's hope that we have it together, and I'm feeling good about it, man. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, and the Celtics haven't been playing good this in this last stretch. They've been in a little bit of a lull, so we kind of got them right where we want them. I just want to see us, take it to them, man. Let them know that we for real and we here.
Yeah. I want us to go hard after Porzingis and Jalen Brown. I really don't like either of those guys. So let's see some W. So these next 4 games, what are you thinking? 3-1, 2-2, 4-0?
We probably go 3-1 is what I think. We'll drop a game somewhere, but hopefully it's 4-0, man.
I'd love to see. Yeah, 3-1 would be great, but yeah, obviously 4-0 is ideal. So loving how life is going for us, and so with the vibes being as immaculate as they are, we should have a vibes segment. In my house, I'll tell you, my son is born on December 11th. My daughter is born on the 25th. My favorite number is 3, so I'm working on actually my daughter's 4, so we have a handshake now, and it's been inspired by the Mikkel and campaign team, and getting us all jerseys. My son has a Brunson jersey, my daughter has a Bridges jersey, and money's a little tight, so I'm just rocking my old Starks jersey, but it's in respect for Josh Hart. With that being said, talk to me about how great these vibes are, and also some things that we need to watch out for on the vibes front.
So I'm on Twitter and I follow this guy, man. Shout out to Ant the Casual. He's just always making memes. And when the Eagles just absolutely destroyed the Commanders, he posted this meme or this. I guess this is a meme. I'll share it now. It just cracked me up, man. Like, he's just Jalen Brunson just smacking the fire out of Josh, man. I was cracking up watching that, man. So the vibes are good, man. The vibes are really good. Shout out to Ant the Casual. He's always posting funny stuff. So follow him on Twitter. His tag is Ant the Casual, but I think his @ is like Knicks Jedi or something like that. But yeah, good vibes. I think it's good to have stuff like that on the team. I think it actually correlates to winning. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think there's something to be said about enjoying the people you you go to work with. Whatever job you have. I mean, jobs are always better when you're working with people you like. And it's, it comes back again. Shout out to Jalen Brunson for taking that pay cut, for making this happen, right? We have the roster we have with his boys, with all these guys spending time together. Kat said they were all in the same suite together watching the game. So it's great that they enjoy spending time outside of work, and it shows. It shows in how they play together. And I am, I'm interested to see, is Josh Hart going to be rooting for the Chiefs now? Is he like, rocking his Taylor Swift gear? Is he going to be going all in and rooting against Saquon? So it's going to be interesting, but I'm loving the vibes. And the other vibe I want to call out really fast that I've really enjoyed, we've talked about this in the past, are the handshakes. And my favorite combo handshake is Cam Payne and OG, because they couldn't be more different. Yeah, and they do the little and OG is like so proper, and Cam Payne looks like he's on, I don't know, like on a bunch of Xanax or something, having a great time out there. So I just love how different they are. But that's the beauty of our team. It's about how everyone is different, but how they still get together. And when we saw some of those precious dunks over the last few games, and you saw the bench going nuts, and then them trying to pick up OG from the floor, and everyone going crazy, and then the deuce dunk too with the I guess no, that precious dunk, the deuce dunk, but the bench reaction. I mean, if the dunk is a 9, it becomes a 10 just off the reaction. But shout out to our team. Keep loving each other. And, I know we're going to maybe talk trades, but it's so hard to want any of these guys to leave because of how much they're enjoying playing together. And so, yeah, just loving the vibes. Any vibes you feel like we should be looking out for? Anything you're a little nervous about? Listen, when you're winning, life is great, but a couple L's changes the game. So tell me about that, Al.
Yeah, man, I got a couple of vibes that we got to be careful with. And the first one is your boy OG. So OG had a really good game against Sacramento, but I really did not like his post game comments, and I'll play it for you guys now.
Wasn't getting touches and I wasn't getting shots, and just trying to be more aggressive, trying to insert my.
In back-to-back games, have you been more aggressive on offense? Have you changed your approach at all?
Yeah, I definitely try to be more aggressive. There was a spell when I wasn't getting touches and I wasn't getting shots, and just trying to be more aggressive, trying to insert myself into the game.
So, he talks about that he wasn't getting touches and he wasn't getting shots, and I'm like, whoa, so now we know exactly who Josh Hart was talking about with the ego. And I'm just like, dude, like, OG, listen to me, OG. You don't have a bag. If we're running our offense through you, it's not going to be a good offense. Like, we're not running pick and roll through you. I don't know what you want, dude. You got paid because you are excellent 3 and D. Keep doing the things that got you paid. Now that you got paid, you want to start doing these other things that you're not good at, that you're below average at. Let's not do that. That's not going to be winning basketball. Cut the egos. Execute your role. Be a star in your role. That's what Kat says all the time. Do that, OG. Don't start that nonsense, because we don't need that. Just be the 3 and D guy that you are, and that's what got you paid. That's how you earn your $40 million per year. Keep doing that. Don't come in here trying to do what Jalen Brunson does, because that's not going to equal wins for us. So I didn't like to hear that, and I just want him to just focus on what he's good at. Like, don't stop trying to do other stuff, man. Just because you got paid doesn't mean you have to now all of a sudden start doing all this extra stuff. Like, you don't have to do that. I didn't like that. I think that's. But I'm not too concerned about it being a distraction going further, but I just didn't like those comments, man. What did you think about those comments?
I think that's fair. I think he has a Kawhi type personality. Yeah, he's an awkward dude. Like, even the Alan Hahn interviews and stuff like that, grabbing the mic, because you never know like the kind of OG you're gonna get. When people are like, you don't really you don't show a lot of expressions. He's like, what are you talking about? I show a lot of expressions, and you're like, all right, buddy, that's not really proving your point. Or like when they tried to make fun of like the microphone, they did an MSG OG microphone, and they were actually interviewing him with it, but they didn't even like make light of it or make a joke of it anymore. So it's like, he's a tough personality to read, and I'd like to believe that he didn't mean everything he said, but I do think there is something to be said about when you play better on defense when you know you're going to touch the ball on offense. And I think for someone like him, we rely heavily on him for defense, and so I think those occasional touches or running some plays for him on offense help keep him engaged, because otherwise sometimes it's like, and again, this is probably not a good comparison at all because I'm comparing OG Anunoby to me playing pickup ball at the Y. But like sometimes it's like you play with somebody and you go up and down the court, and you never touch the ball, and then you get beat on defense, and someone's like, "Why don't you D him up?" And you're like, "Well, I didn't want to D him up. I'm tired. All right, like I've been running back and forth, and you didn't pass me the ball." So not the best point of comparison, but I do think you bring up a great point. He should be thinking about what's best for the team. And I think the team understands that now, just like the way Mikal has kind of come about over the last few weeks in our offense. It was great to see him put up that 30-point game, because when he's shooting well from the corners and he's a threat, we are impossible to guard. And so not the best way to be interviewed, but I do understand his point. I just don't think he handled it well.
The other bad vibe piece, and it's not really, I guess, I mean, it is kind of a bad vibe thing that I want to talk about, is Cat's thumb injury. Um, a good thing that's coming out of that is he has gotten a lot nastier on the glass. I think he had 6 offensive rebounds against Memphis. And he's just like, he's so hampered with his shooting that he is making an effort to impact the game in other ways, particularly on the rebounding front. Like, man, Thibs could just make any center rebound, bro. Like, any center that comes in under Thibs all of a sudden becomes a rebounding machine. Cat was never a rebounding machine, but he is just rebounding the ball like a madman. So he's been focusing on getting more offensive rebounds now that his hand is a little hampered. But he's not shooting the ball well. When they interview him and they ask him about the thumb, he constantly says that it is impacting him. He's not shy about saying that. So he is playing through something that's really tough. And the reason I bring it up is because no one's talking about it right now. But if playoff time comes and you see Cat shooting a disgusting 3-point percentage or even a field goal, nasty field goal percentage, and the Knicks, don't go all the way, people are going to point the finger at him. People aren't going to be like, oh, he had a bad thumb, because that's how toxic Knicks Twitter is. They're going to be like, oh, look at this percentage he shot. Then no one gets an excuse. Like, no one ever gave Randle an excuse for the percentages he shot in the playoffs, even though he had rolled his ankle. And that impacts your lower extremity, impacts how you shoot. But no one gave him a pass. And no one is going to give Cat a pass if he can't get that thumb right and start knocking down his threes. Right now, it's all good because we're winning. But I'm telling you, watch how they change if things take that turn. So that's the only thing that I'm worried about, man. I really want to see him turn that around, because I also don't want to see the fan base start turning around and pointing the finger at Cat, because he also kind of has like a bad reputation for not being a good playoff player or performer. So that's one thing that I'm very keenly keeping an eye on.
I think that's a great call out. Cat has to, and this is my big thing about the Randle comparison. Randle stopped playing defense when his offense fell apart. And I think what you just called out is Cat is attacking the glass even more with a bad thumb and not just trying to shoot his way out of it. He's making his adjustments for the team, and I think that's opening up the rest of the offense based on him being so smart. It's going to be interesting if we come back to a place where he moves to the 4 and we have a center next to him, and then he's expected to kind of keep the floor spread by shooting well. And the hope is, because this is a new injury, hopefully, one, it gets a little better as the season progresses, but it might not. It might just be an off-season surgery thing. And two, you know, maybe it's something that he learns to adjust or get more comfortable with as time goes on, because it's now going to be something that he feels every game, where right now it's still a little new to him. So I agree with you. This is all great, and this was a lot of fun to talk today, but it's it it's tough because you want to enjoy this so much. But to your point, we gotta show up big in the playoffs, and the playoffs will be challenging. I mean, we were even talking about, you talked about Randle, and we'll kind of close on this. We're talking about crazy trades right now, right? We got the Jimmy Butler thing going on. Everything's talking about a five-teamer. Me and you were just messaging together on the side, and if you're Miami, who is one of the prime candidates to to be buying low on? It's Julius Randle. And if there's a front office that has proven to not know what they're doing, it is the Timberwolves. And they might end up in this trade trying to move Randle, trying to get off some money, because Glenn Taylor and that team is very cheap, and they're very worried about the luxury tax. And I could see Miami ending up with Julius Randle, which personally I would hate, because if there's anybody who can turn Julius Randle into a diamond, it's Eric Spoelstra. And I just prefer the Julius Randle of spinning into the middle and losing the ball when he's not on our team. And I feel like they'd be able to fix that on Miami. Any closing thoughts from you about trades, things you're worried about, what you're seeing in the NBA landscape?
I just think if Randall gets traded to Miami, I just know we're gonna end up playing Miami in the first round of the playoffs. That's just the way it's gonna work. I don't know why, but it seems like inevitable if that trade happens. The only other thing that I kind of was talking to my cousins in the Knicks chat about was Myles Turner, and my cousin was like, "Oh, we can trade we can trade Mitch and Precious for Myles Turner," and I'm like, why would we do that? Like, Myles Turner wants a contract extension. That would be like, the Jets trading for Reddick, knowing he wants a contract extension and then he never plays for them. Like, that would be idiotic. The Knicks don't operate like the Jets. So what he said to me was like, and I was like, so it'll be a rental, right? If we do that, it'll be a rental. I'm like, why would the Knicks want a rental? And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Maybe the Knicks are in a position to get a rental and see if he could get us over the hump in the playoffs. Like, we won't pay him, but he comes off the books next year, and we have money to get a player in the offseason, which I think the Knicks would like a little bit of salary cap relief. So I was like, you know what? Maybe the Knicks would entertain that. I don't know. It seemed like a interesting. I just wouldn't want to trade Precious right now. Precious is playing like he's that new NBA tweener player that's between 6'8", 6'7", and 6'9", and 6'10", like that can just switch everything and is super athletic. Doesn't shoot the ball particularly well, but we're getting there with him. But he's that kind of player that you need on every team now, and like I don't want to get rid of Precious at all. I think we need him. I don't want to see us trade him. If there's one thing that I'm saying going into the trade deadline, I do not want the Knicks to trade Precious. I mean, everyone can be had depending on the player, but I just don't want him to be traded for some random player like that we don't need to be doing. Like, I think he's carved out a really nice role for himself that's going to be important. He said it himself. He's an elite defender, and we need that, especially in the playoffs. So those are my thoughts on the trade deadline.
And he plays that tough guy role, which we need. We need somebody who's got that willing to get into with the other team. So, quick question for you, just from a cap perspective, and we won't get too into this, but we would not be able to re-sign Turner because of cap situation. Because at this point, I feel like we're never going to have cap for the foreseeable, right? We got to pay Mikal soon. Jalen Brunson is on the short-term deal, which he's going to need to get paid on. OG's getting paid. Josh Hart's a steal. Deuce is a steal. But listen, with all due respect, pay these guys. Like, I know we should have kept Isaiah. That was kind of out of our control. We just weren't allowed to match. But I think it's hard to get good talent out there. And I think we're going to be paying players. Like, that's what I was saying. This is going to be our team. And I don't want to trade for somebody that we can't keep. And that would be my concern with Myles Turner. Because if we're trading for him, I don't know what the bird rights look like for something like that, but would we be able to pay him and go over the luxury tax? I don't know all the nuances to it, but I don't think we're in a position to be just getting rid of assets for a rental. And but with that being said, I think it's a good suggestion because Myles Turner would be a great fit for us, and he plays. He doesn't miss games, and so while we do all this, we're still waiting on the return date for Mitch. Mitch, we miss you, bud. Put out some weird Instagram messages, but that's okay. Just get better and start playing, and hopefully, ride your truck to and from MSG and just come ball with us for a little bit, my man.
He is running and jumping. He's running and jumping now, so he's almost there, man. I think we'll get him soon.
Let's see. Oh, well, Joel Embiid just did a handstand, so who knows what any of this really means? But let's all see. Al, it's an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for helping put Knick Life Crisis on the map, for getting 2 of our players selected into the All-Star game, for all your great vibes. Excited for our next chat. Anything you want to close with?
Just follow me on Twitter, man. I'm very active on there. I also do a pre-game matchup analysis before every game where I kind of geek out into some advanced stats and I give my keys to victory. They've been pretty spot on. They could also kind of help you with some of your bets. But that's it, man. Shout out to the diehards, and let's go Knicks.
Let's go Knicks. We'll talk soon, baby. Take care.